Howdy everybody, and welcome back to Kids Castle Cup. This is game 2 of round 3. We have BB Kate with the white pieces, and we have OneNamedLucas with the black pieces. And this game, oh boy, this was quite the game. We have everything. We have mismates and material imbalance and queen sacks, and it is a game. So, to jump right into it, we have a BB Kate opening with e4, followed by Lucas's e5. Kate plays knight to f3, knight to f6, and d4. Kate tries to take the center, however, e captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and knight captures on e4. Bishop to d3, attempting to attack black's knight. However, knight captures on f2, creating a three-pronged fork. And in this position, most people generally would take the knight, as that's a nice free knight. However, that is not this game. We have white castling. Knight captures on d1, so the Botez gambit. We have rook captures on d1. Bishop to c5, pinning the knight to the king. c3, defending the knight. This is met with bishop captures on d4. This comes with check. Pawn captures on d4 and d5. Rook to e1 check. Bishop to e6, getting out of check and also defending the d5 pawn. Knight to c3, putting pressure on the d5 pawn. However, in this position, black decides to castle. We have a bishop to f4. Knight to c6, attacking white's hanging d4 pawn. Rook to d1, not defending the pawn. So we have knight picking up the pawn with knight captures on d4. Bishop to b5. Bishop to g4, attacking white's rooks. However, rook to d4, picking up black's hanging knight. Queen to d6. Bishop captures on d6. So the reverse Botez gambit. Rook to d8, attempting to get white's bishop back. However, we have bishop capturing on c4. Rook to c8, attempting to continue to attack white's bishop. We have bishop to e5 and a6, attempting to kick away white's bishop. So we have bishop to a4, followed by b5, continuing to chase. Rook captures on g4 finally. So we have rook to e8. Bishop to b3, running away with the bishop to escape getting it captured. d4, attacking white's knight. So you could move the knight away, or you could capture it, as white does, with bishop captures on d4. Rook captures on e1, and we have king to f2. Rook to c1, and then knight to e2, looking to attack and kick away black's rook. However, rook to h1, maybe looking to pick up one of white's the hanging hd pawn. Bishop to d5, and then rook to d8. Bishop to b6, attempting to attack black's rook. However, rook captures on d5. We have white moving the knight over to f4, and then rook to d2 check. King to g3. h5, attempting to kick away white's rook. But we have knight captures on h5. Rook captures on b2. And in this position, we have a mate in 2. If you move the knight over here to f6, the king can only either go to f8, which is met with bishop to c5, checkmate, or we have king moving over to h8, and this is met with rook to h4, mate. However, that is not what was played. What was played was knight captures on g7, rook captures on a2, knight to f5 with a discovered check from the rook, and king to h7. Bishop to d4, maybe looking for a mate, rook to a3 check, and king to h4. This doesn't make a ton of sense because the rook will just capture on h2 and put you in check, and he picks up a free pawn. King to g5, f6, continuing to put the king in check, but king captures on f6 as this pawn is undefended. b4, maybe looking for a promotion, knight to h4, rook to h1, king to f7, rook to f1 check. This is defended with knight to f5. Unfortunately, this isn't a very good defense, as we have rook captures on f5 with check. Bishop to f6, defending. And then we have rook to d3. And in this position, rook to h4 check is pretty much mate. However, the rook has to come over as it's the only legal move, so we have rook to h5. And finally, we have rook captures rook on h5. And man, what a game. I had the good fortune of witnessing this game live, and it was one of the most entertaining games I have ever watched live. Like, for real. It was so much fun to watch and talk to these two the whole time. So, with that being said, I would like to thank everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, you can stick around, you can sub. I try and upload at least 3 or 4 videos a week. So I hope to see you all in my next video, which is most likely going to be the continuation of Kids Castle Cup and the end of round 3. A very enjoyable game between me and Inferno. So I hope to see you all around. Until then, have a great rest of your day.